So Narad, Valmiki Rishi is asking to Narad, who is in this world, sampraptam loke, at this time, who possesses all the qualities, who is powerful, who is the knower of Vedic Dharma, who is filled with the gratitude and the truthful person and firm in this oath. The first he asks, who is the Gunavan? He's asking, who is such a person who is possessing all the auspicious qualities? Now, what is a guna? Just like we say Bhagavan, Dhanavan, Gunavan. Gunavan means who possesses all the transcendental qualities, and the disciples or the disciples, the devotees who contemplate on those qualities. Who is such a person who possesses such auspicious qualities? Here, the first thing Valmiki Rishi asked is that Gunavan. He asked, who is such a person who possesses such a qualities? Now, why we are hearing about these transcendental qualities of Prabhu RamaChandra? Because when we hear such quality, we meditate on those qualities, and it is just a matter of time that we get empowered by such a qualities. And that is why, because we said that whomever we associate with, we get those qualities. So when we associate with Prabhu RamaChandra ji, meditating on his qualities, we get empowered by such a qualities. So first question Valmiki Rishi asked is the person who possesses such a qualities, Gunavan. In the material world, if we see that if person get exalted because he possesses the good qualities, but in case of Prabhu Ramchandra, it is the other way around. His qualities get exalted because they are possessed by the Supreme Lord. So that is the Gunavan, the person. So Valmiki Rishi is asking, can you please tell me who is such a Gunavan at this time when Valmiki Rishi was present at that contemporary? Who is such a person? The next person, next qualities is asked, who is such a Viryavan, powerful person? Dharmadnya. He says, who is such a person who knows all the Vedic Dharma? Dharma Adnya. Adnya means knows Dharma, who knows the Vedic Dharmas. And the next he's asking, who is a Krutadnya? Krutadnya means indicates that if one renders even a small service, Prabhu Ramchandraji will never forget. In fact, it is mentioned in Ayodhya Kand that he is satisfied even with a single act of a service rendered somehow. And he never remembered even 100 offenses committed. Can we have such a person on the earthly planet that even if we do a small service, he always remembers? But even if you do hundreds of big offenses, he never remembers. Such is our dear Lord Prabhu Ramchandraji. We can understand when Squirrel and Hanuman, they were engaging in building Setu. And at that time, Hanuman came and then he was saying that he was feeling the squirrel is disturbing, and Prabhu Ramchandra has noticed that, and he told that no, even if one is doing a small service, I'm always grateful to that person. Kritadnya, very grateful. So that is the nature of our Lord Prabhu Ramchandraji. Next is the Satyavakya. Prabhu Ramchandra is known for truthfulness. He never speaks untruth. In fact, even in a crisis, in Kiskinda Kand, it is mentioned that I have never spoken untruth, and I shall never speak untruth. That means Lord Ramchandra is telling, in the past I have never spoken untruth, and in the future I will never speak untruth. And then next is Drudavrata, very firm in his determination, very firm in his resolve, no matter what happens, whatever the challenging situation, whatever he does, whatever he decides, he does that. In fact, in Aranya Kand, it is said that he told to Sita Mata that oh Sita, I can give up my life, or I can give up you and Lakshman, but I will never fail a promise that I have made, especially to Brahmanas. And that is the qualities, Drudavrata of Lord Ram. So in the first shloka, Valmiki Rishi is asking, can you tell me such a Gunavan person who possesses Virya, who is Viryavan, who is Dharmadnya, who is Kritadnya, who is a Satyavakya, who is a Drudavrata? In the next shloka is He's asking, can you tell me, Charitrena, चरित्रेण च को युक्त सर्वभूतेषु को हित विद्वान क समर्थश्च प्रिय च एकः प्रिय दर्शन, who always follow the Vedic customs, who benefits all creature, who is learned, who can execute anything, and who is exclusively pleasing to look at. Charitrena, the first thing that he says, Charitrena, who always follow the Vedic customs. Charitrena, you see that that is what Lord Ram is known as Maryada Purushottam. He always followed the Vedic rules and regulation, never transgressed the Vedic rules and regulation. As a son, as a king, as a husband, as a father, as a king, he exactly followed the Vedic culture, Vedic family customs. Sarva Bhuteshu Kohita. Is there any person who benefits Sarva Bhuteshu, all living entities, Hita, who benefits all the creatures? Because why Lord Ramachandra is considered Sarva Bhuteshu Kohita? Because he does not consider himself to be the superior to benefiting others. He always considers the benefiting others is better than considering himself as a superior. So that is why you see that all our Vedic culture is that how can we become a Hita Pradhan, benefiting other living entities, other people. If you see other faith, some faiths are known for prayers, some faith are known for namaskaram, some faith are known for ahimsa, non-violence, whereas Vedic Sanatan Dharma is known for Hita Pradhan, always thinking about how can I do for others. Prabhu Ramachandra ji, Sarva Bhuteshu Ko Hita, our Lord, Lord Sri Krishna, he's telling to Arjuna that how can I be hitai to you? Then Gauranga Mahaprabhu, he said that Bharat Bhumite Haile Manushya Janma Yara Janma Sarthaka Kare Kara Para Upakar. He's telling to all the people who are born in India, first make your life successful and then dedicate your life for other people, para upakar. And following in that disciplic succession, our founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada dedicated his whole life for all the benefit of all the people. Sarva Bhuteshi Kohita. Next is a Vidwan. Vidwan means he is expert, he is knower of all the Vedas. Wherever when Lakshman wanted to go to along him in forest in exile, that time he was giving different references, and Ram always answers his questions and his queries from the scriptures. He's a completely expert. He's the knower of all the Vedas. Samartha. He can execute anything in any situation. Samartha is such a powerful, he's such an executor. And very important that Eka Priya Darshana. Eka Priya Darshana means he alone in the universe is pleasing to look at. As soon as we look at Lord Ramachandra ji, we actually get pleased, we get satisfied, and every moment he's looking newer and fresher and newer and fresher. And that is what is the Eka Priya Darshana. Just by looking at Lord Ramachandra, the people feel satisfied. When Lord Ramachandra was cursed, and or rather was asked to go to forest, exile in the forest in the Aranyakand after Ayodhya, you can see that all the Ayodhya-vasis felt that they lost everything because Lord Ramachandra ji was their life and soul. They are so attached to Lord Ramachandra that they were not thinking, it is not possible for them to live a life without Lord Ramachandra, because such a dear Lord Ramachandra was to all the Ayodhya-vasis. Next shloka. आत्मवान को जित क्रोध द्युतिमान को अनसूय का कश्य विवेत्ति देवस्य जात रोषस्य संयुगे. He says, Valmiki Rishi is asking, tell me now, who is such a person who is Atmavan, who is self-controlled? No matter what happened, the previous night he is told to that you become the emperor of the whole world, and the next day morning he is told that you will actually go to forest. Atmavan, self-controlled. No matter in both the situation, he is completely equipoised. That is the greatness of our Lord Ramachandra. Jita Krodha. Jita Krodha means whose anger is regulated, who has conquered the anger. That means Lord Prabhu Ramachandra's anger is only directed toward those who deserve to be punished and not others, just like Ravana and all the sages. We can see today, even the demons, the Rakshasi Tataka, that Prabhu Ramachandra is killed, of course, killing and even giving the blessings. Prabhu Ramachandra's all activities are auspicious because there is nothing dualities. Everything is absolute. Whatever Lord Ramachandra does, it's a perfect for all the living entities, whether he's giving blessing or even if he's killing that individual. Dyutiman is splendorous. In in Aranyakand, it is said that observing Lord Ram, proportionality, his beauty, overall splendorous tenderness, and the auspicious charm, the residents of the forest become astonished. That is how Lord Ram was such a beautiful, such a splendorous was Lord Ram. Anasuya, Lord Ram doesn't possess any envy. Even towards Mother Kaikai, when Mother Kaikai said that you have to go to forest, Lord Ram said that, "Oh my mother, today I have no problem going forest, but I'm feeling so distressed because you did not have such a confidence in me that you have to tell to my father and then give a distress to him. Instead of that, you would have told to me. I would have been very happy just getting that instruction from you." And throughout his life, he never had any small tinge of enviousness towards Mother Kaikai. That is Lord Ram. And Devascha Vibhyati. That means even the demigods become frightened of him when he becomes angry. And what to talk of demons? We can see from appearance of Narsimhadev. When Narsimhadev appeared, all the devatas, Brahma and all the devatas were actually afraid of even to go too near Narsimhadev. But his devotee, actually, he went there and he pacified Narsimhadev. And that is what the Prahlad Maharaj went and he pacified. That is what even devatas are afraid when Lord Ram is angry. So that is how Valmiki Rishi asked the 16 qualities. Can you tell me such a person who possesses all such a 16 qualities and who is present at this time? He says that kon asmin sampraptam. At this time is such a person there who possesses all these 16 qualities. Do you want to know who is such a person? Hare Krishna. Are you all there?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Who is such a person?
Prabhuji.
Only Sri RamaChandra.
Only Sri RamaChandra. Prabhu RamaChandra ki
Jai.
And here is the answer from Narad Muni. Ikshvaka amsha Ikshvaku vamsha prabho Rama nama janayasuta niyatatma mahavirya dyutiman
Srutiman.
So yes, there is such a person who is born in Ikshvaku dynasty and his name is Ram. That Supreme Lord is known as Ram because he delights with his transcendental qualities. And Rama Nama Janay Sruto. He's the well known not only to Valmiki Rishi himself, but even ordinary people. Janay Sruto knows him. Sruto means he's known and understood by them. And then, so Narada first of all described the feature that tells about his constitutional nature. So what is the constitutional nature? He says that first thing that he is a Niyatatma. Niyatatma means whose nature doesn't change. Just like we go through the old age, disease, but Lord is na jayate mriyate va. Just like the living entity is na jayate mriyate va. Similarly, Lord is a Niyatatma whose nature doesn't change. Then he says that he is Mahavirya who possesses inconceivable and multifarious potencies. Mahavirya, very powerful. He possesses inconceivable and multifarious potencies. He is a Dyutiman, naturally self-manifest. Dhrutiman, who possesses all unbounded bliss, happiness. And Vashi. Vashi means who possesses unbounded bliss. Vash means whose whole world is under his control. He's a master of everything, Lord of everything. In Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says, Aham sarvasya prabho mataha sarva pravartate iti matva bhajante ma buddha bhava samanvita. The whole world is under his control. And that is what Narad Muni starts with that. He says that such a person is, yes, Valmiki Rishi, he said that yes to Valmiki Rishi, that yes, such a person is available. He's personally present on this earthly planet, and he born in a Ikshvaku dynasty, and his name is Ram. And not only you, but all the people knows him. Ram Nama Janahe Srutu. And who is he? He is a Niyatatma. He is a Mahavirya. He is a Dyutiman. Who is a Dhrutiman? Who is a Vashi. And for the pleasure of all the devotees here who are listening this discussion, you will be surprised. Next 11 shlokas, Narad Muni continuously goes and describe the different one after the other qualities of Prabhu RamaChandra ji. So we'll not go in detail, but you can see here 9th shloka. He's a Buddhiman, Nitiman, Vagman, Sriman, Shatruni Bihan, Vipulamsha, Mahabaho, Mahahanu, Mahe Rasko, Maheshwasa, Ajana Bahu, Sushira, Sulalat. Ajana Bahu means whose long arms can reaches to the knees. Sushira, with a face is well formed. Shira means shira. Sulalata, Lalata means forehead, whose forehead is very beautiful. Dharmadnya, Satya Sadnascha, Pradnyanacha Hite. Pradnyanacha Hite means who is always thinking about how can he do welfare for all the subjects. Yashasvi, Jnana Sampanna, Shuchir Vasha, Samadhiman, Samaha, equipoised in all things. Sama Vibhakta Anga, Snigdha Varna, Pratapavan, Pina Vaksha, Vishalaksha. Pina Vaksha means whose chest is fleshy. Vishalaksha means whose eyes are wide. Lakshmi Van, who is a prosperous one. Shubha Lakshana, with all auspicious features. Prajapati Samaha, Sriman Dhata, Ripu Nishudam, Rakshita, Jiva Lokascha, Dharmascha, Parirakshitaha, Sarva Shastra Dnyartha Tattvajna. He is a cognizant of all scriptures, knows the truth in all the scripture. Smrutiman, with excellent memory. Pratibhavan, brilliant one. Sarva Lokapriya, who is very dear to all the people. Sadhura Dinatma, Vichakshana is very clear-headed, no confusion, no doubt. Rakshita, Swasya Dharmasya, Swajanasya cha Rakshita, Vedanga Tattvajno, Dhanur Veda cha Nishtita. Such a Sarva Guna Peta, Kaushalya Ananda Vardhana. He is embodied with all the qualities, and he is a Kaushalya Ananda Vardhana, one who increases happiness of Mother Kaushalya. And the next is that very nice. He says, Samudra Eva Gambhirya. He is like ocean, grave like ocean. And then Gambhirya, Dhairena Himanivan. His tolerance is like a Himalaya mountain. So he's a grave like ocean. He's a tolerance like a Himalaya. And the last shloka, where he continues to describe the qualities, he says that very wonderful. Vishnuna Sadrusha Virya. His Virya, like comparable to like Vishnu in his Virya, powerful. Somatva Priya Darshana. He's attractive like moon. Somatva Priya Darshana. Kalagni Sadrusha Krodha. When his anger is comparable to the volcano. Then Kshamaya Prithvi Sama is equals to the earth in forgiveness. Kshamaya Prithvi Samaha. And then Dhanatena Samastyaga. Giving charity, he's like a Kubera, is equal to the Kubera, giving charity. And the last is that Satya Dharma I Vapara. He is like Dharma himself when it comes to the truthfulness. And that is how total around 68 qualities told by Narad Muni. when Valmiki Rishi asked about the 16 qualities, Narad Muni went on telling about 68 qualities of Prabhu Ramachandra ji. And the last, what we are seeing on the screen, that he's like Vishnu in power, he's like moon beautifulness, he's in Krodh, he's like the volcano, in a tolerance, he's like a Prithvi, when it comes to charity, he's like a Kuvera, and when it comes to truthfulness, he's like a Dharma himself. And the previous one is that he's a grave like ocean, and his tolerance is like a Himalaya mountain. And that is the Supreme Lord, Prabhu Ramachandra. So now, the first, we are speaking from the first chapter of Balkand, and now Valmiki Rishi is, Valmiki Rishi asked the question, please tell me such a person. And then Narad Muni told the 16, 18 shlokas and about 68 qualities of that. And after that, the first chapter continues where Narad Muni gives him the summary, condensed summary of the whole Ramayana. Is the first chapter of the Balakanda. Now, after that, the second chapter begins that Valmiki, on hearing the story of Ram narrated by Narad Muni, he went on the bank of, along with his disciples, Bharadwaj and all the disciples, he went to the bank of river Tamasa to take a bath and perform his rituals in the afternoon. So when he went there, what he saw that he saw a couple of crauncha birds, crane birds. They were actually happily, I mean, they were flirting each other and on the bank of that Tamasa river. And suddenly, what Valmiki Rishi saw that one arrow, one hunter unseen, he shoot an arrow that zooming through the sky, he pierced the male bird. And Valmiki noticed that the male bird slain and immediately fell on the ground, completely covered by the blood. Seeing the mate, seeing the male bird, the female bird actually saw that her counterpart or her partner smeared completely his body in a blood, fatal wound all over his body. She began to wail, piteously started crying. Seeing that, it aroused the compassion in Valmiki Rishi, and he uttered the curse. So, from what was that curse? Ma nishat pratishthatvam gam shaswataho sama yet kaunchanam mituna de kama vadhi kama mohitam. O hunter, may you never attain a fixed position for enjoyment for unlimited years to come, because you have killed one of the crauncha bird couple that was absorbed in the sport of mating. Now, one important point here is that this is the material world. Just a minute before, both the crauncha bird were happily enjoying, they were top of the sense enjoyment, and the next moment they were completely agonized with the pain, especially the female, because the male bird died on the spot, and the female bird, she was actually agonized. And seeing that, Valmiki Rishi actually uttered this curse. Now, if you see that he had the shoka in his mind, and what came out is a curse. Now immediately he started lamenting. Hare, what is that? I couldn't control, and what is this curse? But when he noticed that the curse was not just a simple curse or mere curse, it was it's a very wonderful composition. It was in a complete meter, an Anustan meter, complete. It is well verse composed, and it was a complete wonderful composition in Anustan meter, which has 4 lines, and each line contains the 8 syllables. And he couldn't understand that. How is it possible that the curse that I uttered, it's a wonderful composition and it's in Anustan meter, but he didn't understand what is the meaning of that. The whole afternoon he was actually meditating on that. So when he was having shoka in his mind, and what came out as a wonderful shloka. And though he performed all his austerities and he discussed with all his disciples, Bharadwaj and all other rishis, but he couldn't comprehend that what is the meaning of that verse, the curse, because it's happened to be a curse, but the curse supposed to be not supposed to be such a beautiful verse and in such a beautiful meter. He couldn't comprehend that. Then what happened later is that at that point of time he returned to his hermitage ashrama, and then Brahmadev comes, and Brahmadev saw that when Brahmadev saw that Valmiki Rishi was completely absorbed in some thought, and then Valmiki Rishi welcomed Brahmadev, and then he gave him seat. So that is the Vedic culture. As soon as some sages, and not only the sages, anybody comes home, we have to welcome with the sweet words, give him asan, seat, and give him water, and inquire him and talk to him in the sweet words. So similarly, Valmiki Rishi gave him a seat and welcome him. And then what Brahmadev said, that, which will come here. Okay, but before that, what Brahmadev said, that the acharyas, different acharyas says that the shloka which came as a curse, but it cannot be a curse. I mean, it cannot be mere a curse. They said that because they have taken a different meanings, because Sanskrit has, each word has a different meaning, and that each word can be considered, and with that you can actually interpret a different meanings, and Acharya has come up with these different meanings. And one of the meanings is that Ma means Mother Lakshmi, Nishad means the residence, the permanent residence, or residence of the goddess of fortune. May you attain the glory for the unlimited number of years for all time, because you have killed Kama Mohitam. You have killed the one member of the Rakshasa couple who was overcome by lust. Who is that Rakshasa who was overcome by lust? Hare Krishna. Who was that Rakshasa who was overcome by lust and who kidnapped Mother Sita?
Ravana.
Ravana. So here you can see that the same curse, same verse, it appears that it is a curse to that hunter, but Acharya, there are almost 18 to 19 different meanings, and each meaning is actually glorifying Lord Ram. So in other way, in that curse, it is nothing but the seeking or invoking the auspiciousness by saying that, oh, residence of the goddess of fortune, which is nothing but Lord Ram, that you have killed that member of Rakshasa who was overcome by lust. That is nothing but Ravana. So that is how that, and then finally, as we are discussing that, Lord Brahma comes to the Valmiki Rishis, and he understands that what is going on, that Valmiki Rishi was not completely composed. He was actually lost. And then Lord Brahma reveals that actually the curse what you uttered or pronounced this afternoon, it was me who arranged that. It was me who made you to speak that verse, because I wanted you. He wanted to give him service. I wanted to give you service, that you compose the complete Ramayana in the same verse, in the similar meter, in the similar way. You compose the whole Ramayana. And how did you compose that? Because now Valmiki Rishi doesn't know all those things. Then he said, I will empower you, that it will be revealed to you all the pastimes of Lord Ram. Not only that, you will be revealed all the interactions between Lord Ram and Sita, even if it is very confidential. Ram and Lakshman, with all the sages, with all the Vanara Senas and all the Rakshasas, and everything will be revealed to you. And that now you compose that as a Ramayana, and then publish it to all over the world. And not only that, he also gave him a blessing that as long as there are mountains and rivers on this earth, the story of Lord Ram will endure among the people. And not only that, as long as the story of the Lord is composed by you, endures, you will dwell in this world, and your name will become famous all over the world. And that is the blessing and the mercy Lord Brahma has given to Valmiki Rishi. Very wonderful learning here. The learning here is that sometimes when we have a difficult situation in our life, and we don't understand how to convert these negatives into positives, or convert the curse into the blessings. So but when we go through a spiritual master, or when we approach a spiritual master, he has the ability who can actually see the positivity in highly negative situation. And that is what Lord Brahma did. That Lord Brahma could see what is the negativity in these things and converted that negativity and into a positive. Not only the positivity, in such a way that he instructed Valmiki Rishi that to compose a Ramayana. And the other important learning for all of us is that whenever we hear some instructions, when we meditate on the instructions of a spiritual master, it empowers us, because the instruction comes with the empowerment. Here now the instruction was given to Valmiki Rishi to compose a Ramayana. Now he does not have that ability, but Brahmadev empowered him within, that he could even see all the pastimes of Ram, and he would start composing that one by one, one by one. Not only that, he said that whatever you write, it will actually turn to be a truth. And by the time when Valmiki Rishi started composing Ramayana, there was already some pastimes of Ramayana happened, and there was some pastime about to happen. That means Valmiki Ramayana is some portion of Ramayana is a past tense, and some portion of Valmiki Ramayana is a future tense. And what happened after that? Brahmadev left, and Valmiki Rishi started meditating on this instruction given by his spiritual master, that is the Brahmadev, and he started composing the Ramayana. And what happened at the end was the 24,000 wonderful shlokas in 650 chapters, or adhyay or sarga, and in a 6 cantos. Finally, Valmiki composed a beautiful epic. Even today, after millions and millions and millions of years later, people read Ramayana and find the transcendental happiness in that. And that is the greatness of the sages. That is the greatness of our Vedic culture, that by just having a discussion, what turned out to be a wonderful epic of Ramayana. And even today people, that's why Brahmadev said that as long as there are mountains and rivers, the story of Ramayana, the story of Lord Ram will be heard among the people. So this Ramayana has a 7 kandas, starts with the Bal Kanda, then it starts, the next is the Ayodhya Kand, then Aranya Kand, then Kishkinda Kand, then Sundara Kand, Yuddha Kand, and finally Uttara Kand. So like this, there are 7 kandas. So Valmiki Rishi composed this beautiful Ramayana. And then he was thinking, how did I compose this? How did I get the mercy? Because not in Valmiki Ramayana, but in Skanda Purana, it actually mentioned the story of Valmiki, who was in his before he became a Rishi. Actually, he was a hunter. And he would actually go to the forest and kill people, rob people, whoever comes. And one day, as destiny happened to be that it was Narad Muni who was going through that forest. And immediately, Ratnakar, as he was known before that, as a Ratnakar, the hunter, the robber, the killer, that he immediately started attacking Narad Muni. And Narad Muni said that, wait a minute, why are you doing this thing? He said that because when I rob the people, I kill the people, I get some money, and that is how I maintain all my family members. He said, is it? He said, yeah. But then Narada said, now you are doing all these sinful activities, and one day you will get a punishment of that sinful activities. So how is that you are doing these activities and you are maintaining that? Is that all your family members will be part of this punishment? He said, yes, why not? Because I'm doing for all of them. He said, no, you go and check. Don't tell on your own. Just go and confirm with them. He said, Ratnakar said, no, you are playing trick with me, because you wanted me to say, go home so that you will run away from there. He said, no. Then he said, Ratnakar said, okay, I will go home, but on one condition, you must not leave. I will tie. And it is said that Ratnakar tied Narad Muni there. He went home and asked all his family members that, I have been doing all these sinful activities. Actually, he doesn't realize that it is a sinful activity. He thought it's a part of his maintaining family members. He said, I'm doing all these things. Now, when I do all those things, I will get reactions of that. Will all you will participate? I suppose if I get caught and if I get punishment, will you be participating? Will you sharing all these sinful reactions? They all said no, because it is you who are doing all those things. How can we be part of that? And Ratnakar immediately just light went on. He said, oh. Then he came running to Narad Muni, and he just offered his dandavad and touched his lotus feet, and he said, oh, my guru, now you tell me, what should I do? I have been doing all those things thinking that I'm maintaining all my family members, and now today I realize that they are not going to participate or share my sinful reactions. Now you please help me, what shall I do? And Narad Muni is expert. He knows how to make all these people, because that is what the nature of sage. The sages, the sadhu, means that he finds that what is the, even if a small thing that he sees, and he actually fan that small things spark, so that the spark become a big fire there. And he said, okay, no problem, at least you realize that this the thing that you have done are sinful, and you are going to get the reaction of that. At least you start chanting the name of Lord. And Narad knows that, because all Valmiki has, Ratnakar has been doing in his life is maro, killing. So he will not be able to pronounce the name of Lord Ram. He said that you continue to chant the name like Ram, and eventually it became a Ram. So that is how, because spiritual masters are expert, the sadhus are expert. They understand that the mentality, the consciousness of the disciples, and they direct, they instruct exactly accordingly that. And Narad Muni is such an expert preacher, such an expert devotee of Lord. And he said that you chant the name of name of not Lord Ram, but Mara, and eventually it become Ram. And Valmiki Ratnakar was such a determined that he continued to chant the name of Ram, and many years passed. And as he was continuously, he did not even give attention to eating, drinking, or anything. And finally, the anthill was built over his whole body. And one fine day, Narad Muni was actually passing through the same place, and he could hear Ram. And then he realized, oh, here is my disciple. And from his kamandal, he sprinkled the water, and the whole anthill actually was dispersed. And from that came out a wonderful devotee, disciple of him, known as Valmiki. He immediately offered his humble obeisances, and Narad Muni embraced him and gave him a name that henceforward you will be known as a Valmiki. So Ratnakar became a Valmiki. Hunter became a sage, and that sage became the writer, the composition of Valmiki, of Ramayana. Guru Krishna Prasade Paye Bhakti Lata Bich. This bhakti, the seed of devotion, starts from the mercy of Lord and the mercy of devotees, mercy of Guru. ब्रह्मांड भ्रमिते कौन भाग्यवान जीव Guru Krishna Prasade Paye Bhakti Lata Beach. By the, so Narad Valmiki Rishi, now when he composed, he was given the instruction by Brahmadev to write Ramayana. He was thinking, I am the product of mercy. First, the mercy that I got was from Narad Muni, as a Ratnakar became a Valmiki. The next, that by the mercy of Lord Ram, I got the opportunity to serve Mother Sita. And by the mercy of Sita, that I got the opportunity to write the composition about Lord Ram. By the mercy of Brahmadev, I got the opportunity to what appeared to be a curse, but it actually became a beautiful shloka. And then eventually it appeared from that is a wonderful composition of Lord Ram's character, that is Ramayana. Different acharyas tells that Ayana means home, and Ram means the Ram's home, which has 7 rooms, which is nothing but the 7 khandas, and it is also known as character of Ram Ayan, and it is also known as Rama Ayana. Rama means Sita, the character of Mother Sita. So it is depicting the character of Mother Sita, character of Prabhu RamaChandra ji, and that is how this Ramayana was actually came into existence. It is all because of Narada Muni and the different sages like and different devotees, disciples of like Lord Brahma coming into picture and giving the opportunities to all, and finally it turned out to be a beautiful epic. So you can see that Narad Muni is somehow responsible to bring a different scriptures on this earthly planet, whether it's Ramayana or Bhagavatam. It is Narad Muni who actually responsible to bring all this on this earthly planet. Now the next thing for Valmiki Rishi was that how do I propagate this Ramayana all over the world? And then he saw that two boys, the two boys of Mother Sita, Love and Kush, they had very good memories. They were well versed in the revealed scripture, and they have very good musical abilities. And Valmiki Rishi taught both of them and the whole Ramayana, 24,000 shlokas. And then they did a rehearsals, and they when Valmiki Rishi realized that they are wonderful and they are ready to propagate the whole Ramayana all over the world. And then these two little boys, Love and Kush, started singing this Ramayana to the different peoples and all the rest. That is how this Ramayana was propagated all over the world. All over the world. One day, they went to the assembly of the sages, when the sages heard these little boys, Love and Kush, singing this beautiful Ramayana, they were completely astonished. The tears were flowing from their eyes. And in that mood, they have given a different gifts to Love and Kush. And like this, their glories, Love and Kush glories, actually spread all over the world, and also in Ayodhya. And Lord Ram heard about this Love and Kush, and then he ordered Love and Kush that they also should do this kind of performance in Ayodhya in their assembly. And he called all his ministers, Bharat, Lakshman, Shatrughna, everybody, and they heard in the presence of Love and Kush singing this Ramayana very beautifully. And in fact, Ram was sitting on the seat which is elevated, and all other people, and Love and Kush are singing the glories of and the Ramayana. And when everybody was completely absorbed, Ram did not realize actually he came down from his elevated seat and sat with other people, and they were actually putting one's hand on other hand and laughing and hearing, completely absorbed that Ramayana. And that is how this Ramayana begins with Balakanda. So the now what happens next is the Balkand begins when Love and Kush now started narrating to the audience in Ayodhya, including Prabhu RamaChandra ji, about Ayodhya, the city of Ayodhya, and the Balkanda. So this is how the Balkanda begins, the glories of Ayodhya place. And then after that, Balkanda, Ayodhya Kand, Aranya Kand, and then Kishkinda, then Sundarkand, Yuddhakand, and finally Uttarakand. So thus, Love and Kush begins narrating about Ayodhya. They said there is a great and happy, very happy and the prosperous country called Koshala on the bank of river Sharai, which has lot of wealth and grain. And in that Koshala region, there is a very world famous city which was built by Manu himself, which is a 12 yojna long and 3 yojna wide. One yojna means around 8 miles, which is 12 eights are 96, and 3 eights are 24 miles wide, with the well-ordered avenues. Within Ayodhya, there are beautiful gardens abundant with the flowers and fruit trees. And this Ayodhya's layout was like a board game of Ashtapadi, which means that the whole city was designed like a dice table. And in from the center, all the 8 main roads were actually going from the center to the outwards. And the city was filled with beautiful houses, palaces, and all the palaces were studded with the special jewels, stones, gold. Can you mute? Is there someone who is unmuted? The palaces were actually, the pillars of the palaces were made of sandalwoods, and their rafters were made of gold, and the walls were made of emeralds. Such a beautiful, wonderful palaces of Ayodhya. And there were around 20 million such palaces. It is mentioned that this and Ayodhya, these scrappers were almost a 7-story buildings, and Ayodhya was also a center of trade, and the people across all the world came to Ayodhya for business. Such a wonderful city was Ayodhya. It is also said, not in Valmiki Raman, but other Ramayana said that Ayodhya means unconquerable, and it was all impenetrable. That means no one could conquer Ayodhya, and it was unconquerable and impenetrable to the external and internal enemies. The external enemies that we know, all the kings and the kingdoms who would attack to Ayodhya, but there were also, it was unconquerable to and impenetrable to the internal enemies. And who are these internal enemies? Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Mada, Moha, Matsar. That means all the people, all the residents of Ayodhya were free from all these internal enemies like a Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Mada, Moha, Matsar. So generally all the cities, they themselves to fend off from the external enemies, but Ayodhya, you could counter internal enemies too as well. After the description of Ayodhya, Love and Kush begin the discussion of the king. In the city of Ayodhya, there was a king. His name was Dasharatha. Dasharatha means who was expert in battle or driving the chariot in a 10 direction. Dasharatha. The 4 main direction, the secondary directions, and up and down. Like this, there are 10 directions. So Dasharatha was expert in taking his chariot or fighting the war in all 10 directions. He was well versed in Vedas. He was very far-sighted, immensely powerful, and he was very dear to his residents as well as the country people. He was outstanding charioteer of the Ikshvaku, Dasharath. His all senses were under his control. He was very, very dear to the sages, and he was very famous throughout the world. He was very strong, divide of enemies, surrounded by the allies. And what about the citizen? Yatha Raja Tatha Praja. Just like the Dasharatha, the citizens were also very virtuous, highly learned, satisfied with their own wealth, and free from all this Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Mada, Moha, Matchars. And there was not even a single citizen who had not achieved the. Can you mute? Can you mute yourself? Radha Ganeshan, can you please mute?
Prabhu, you can mute the participants.
Okay, thank you. Such was the city Ayodhya, such was the king of Ayodhya, Dasharath, and such were the citizens of Ayodhya. And it is mentioned that all the citizens, they had such wonderful palaces. They were always regulated, virtuous, cheerful, and then as faultless as a great sages. And there was no one who could actually have the golden helmet, mukut, and there was no one who could have the gold earrings and will not have arms, bracelets, and everything, crowns. So today we may not have the golden crown, but what we have, the helmet. When we drive, when we ride the way two-wheeler, we have all the helmet. We may not have the golden earrings, but all we have is the earphone. So that is the situation. Of course, we may not have everything, but we have something here. So everything was a fantastic, going everything, but there is always a but in this material world. As a material life, there is always something missing there. Dasratha had something missing. Dasratha seemed to be a complete man. He had everything a man could even dream of, aspire, and probably more: physical strength, beautiful wives, opulence, even one can imagine. But still, he was not satisfied. And what was the reason for his being not satisfied? That he had everything, but the absence of son. And then he thought that, why can't I perform the Ashwamedha Yajna so that I can get a son? And then immediately called all his minister, and he wanted the blessings and the advice of all the great sages. And immediately he called all the sages and told what was going in his mind, that I have everything, but I don't have a son. And he said that I am proposing here to have Ashwamedha sacrifice. And all the ministers and all the sages expressed, and they agreed, and they agreed to proposals of Dashrath Maharaj, and everybody started thinking, okay, let's begin the sacrifice on the northern bank of river Sharayu. The same time, Sumantara told the king in private. He said he had heard the story in the past. Sanat Kumara was telling that there will be the sage called Vivandaka, and he will have a son. His son is known, will be that Rishi Sringa, and this Rishi Sringa will be like a deer. Will we have the horn like a human body, but will have the horn like a deer. And this Rishi Sringa will be brought to the Angadesh kingdom, Romapad. And then once, as soon as he come to the Angadesha kingdom, then there will be rain, because previously Angadesh king Romapad, he had done some offenses, and there was no rain for 3 consecutive years, and there was a famine, the scarcity of food. And all the sages, he went to the astrologer and said what to do. The astrologer said that you have to bring this Rishi Sringa to your kingdom. And then somehow Romapad Maharaj brings Rishi Sringa to his kingdom. And as soon as Rishi Sringa touched the kingdom, and there was abundance of rain. And then Romapad had a daughter, Shanta. Actually, this daughter Shanta was a daughter of Dashrath Maharaj. She was born of Kaushalya. And once Romapad Maharaj came to Ayodhya, and he said that, can you give me your daughter in adoption? So this is the today's word in the material, in this word, that if you have boys, then they want a girl. If you have a girl, they want boys. And if you have both boys and girl, and then finally everybody is actually frustrated with the online, and they wanted finally that how can we have everything offline. That is the situation. So similarly, the king of Angadesh, Rompad, he wanted a daughter. So he came to Dashrath Maharaj, and he requested for the daughter. And yes, Dashrath Maharaj gave this daughter. Her name was Shanta. And this Rishi Sringa, the sage who had a deer-like horn, then the Rompad Maharaj married Shanta to him, and that is how there was a rain there. And then Sanat Kumar is telling this story to Dashrath Maharaj, that Sumantar, the minister Sumantar is telling the story that Sanat Kumar was telling that the same Rishi Sringa, when he come to our Ayodhya, he will perform the Ashwamedha Yajna and also the Pushta Kametri Yajna. Then he will have the 4 sons like Bhagavat Samad, like the Supreme Lord. You will have the 4 sons. And when Dashrath Maharaj heard that, he said, okay, let's bring this Rishi Sringa here. And they started the Ashwamedha Yajna. And then by the time the Rishi Sringa came, the Ashwamedha Yajna is also going on. And then they started the Pushta Kametri Yajna. Pushta Kametri Yajna was actually going on. And at that moment, when the Dashrath Maharaj was performing the Putra Kamestri Yajna sacrifice at the heavenly place, or the celestial beings, there was something happening. All the sages, all the demigods, they went to Lord Brahma, and they said, you have given blessings, benediction to Ravana, that he would not be killed by any people, any sages or any demigod or anybody. And he had created havoc all over the place. So please help us, because we have been terrorized and harassed by this Ravana. So somehow or the other, you have given the benediction. You please make some arrangement so that we will be relieved from the burden, the harassment of Ravana. And at that moment appears Lord Vishnu on that spot. That is the beauty of, because Lord Vishnu is a Bhakta Vatsala. Lord is always that, how can I be dear to my devotees? How can I solve the problems of my devotees? He appeared there even without being thinking. And he said that, now I will appear through this Putra Kameshti Yajna. Through the sacrifice that is happening on the Ayodhya, I will appear this Yajna, but I will come this Yajna not to take something, but to give something, because Lord is always giving. He's always a giver, Data. There is only one person who is always giving, that is the Lord, and there are all people, all of us are actually taking. Lord is giving and we are taking from Lord. So now Lord said that I will appear through this Putra Kameshti Yajna, and all of you also should appear to participate in this this Leela. So Brahma ordered all the other devatas to appear, and just like Lord Indra begot a son as Vali. So Lord Brahma asked them to get a son as Vanaras or boars or other animals, so that they will participate in the Leela of Lord Ram. So same way, Lord Indra got a son Vali, son got the Suryadev. Surya Devta got Sugriva, Brahaspati got Tara, Kuvera got Gandhamandana, Vishwakarma got Nala, Agni got Nila, and the two Ashwini Kumara got Mainda and Dvida, Varuna got the Sushena, Parjanya got Sharva, and the Vayu Devata, the wind god, got the glorious monkey named Hanuman. So like this, all the devatas, somehow or the other, they got their son, which we describe, their different people, and they will be participating in the Leela of Lord Ram. And when the Putra Kameshti Yajna, now coming back to the Ayodhya, where the Putra Kameshti Yajna was actually happening, and through that Yajna came very celestial beings with the auspicious mark, who was adorned with the celestial ornaments. His height was like a mountain peak, and his walking style was like a tiger, and he appeared like a sun, and he had a pot which was like a golden pot and the silver cover, and that silver golden pot was having the kheer payasam in that. And then he directly looked at Dashrath Maharaj and he said, "Your Majesty, know that I came here as a servant of Brahma, the Lord of creature." And then in the response, Dashrath Maharaj said that, "You are welcome. What can I do for you?" Then the celestial being from that sacrifice, from that yajna, the yajna purusha who came out of that yajna, he said that, "Take this kheer. It was prepared by the gods, and it will bring you offspring, health, and wealth." And Dashrath took that pot from that celestial being, and he gave 1/2 of the kheer to Kaushalya, 1/4 to Sumitra, 1/8 to Kaikeyi, and finally remaining 1/8 he gave to Sumitra again. So like this, as soon as the kheer was given to the different queens, the primary queens of Dashrath Maharaj, the queens felt overjoyed. They have never experienced such a joy. Each of them actually felt a divine presence in their womb. They became radiant with the divine mercy. Their beauty increased infinitely, and they bore the divine children in their womb for 12 months. How many months? 12 months. And toward the end of 12 months, on the noon of Navami, 9th day of Shukla Paksha, that is the today, the bright fortnight of the waxing moon, in the month of Chaitra, under the star of Punarvasu, when all the auspicious planets were in constellation, Kaushalya gave birth to the first son, and his name was RamaChandra. Prabhu RamaChandra ki jai, Sri Ram Navami Maha Mahotsav ki jai. And that is how Lord RamaChandra, on this auspicious occasion of Navami Tithi, Punarvasu Nakshatra, when all the auspicious planets were in perfect constellation, Ram appeared on this earthly planet on this Ram Navami day. And that is the true day, and that is how we are celebrating the appearance of Prabhu RamaChandra ji. And next morning, Kaikeyi gave birth to Bharat, and then the next that on Dashmi day on the afternoon time, Mother Sumitra gave birth to Lakshman and Shatrughna. So now Dashratha was very happy because he did not have a son. Now he had 4 sons, and they are like divine personified, and there was no limit for his joy, and whole Ayodhya was actually completely in a joyful mood, celebrating the birth of all the 4 sons. And then after 13th day came the naming ceremony. Vasishta gave the name, very unique name to all 4 sons. The firstborn son was given the name Ram, which means one who gives the pleasure, transcendental pleasure, Rama. The next he gave Bharata. Bharata means that one with the big load on his head. And eventually it came true, as Bharata had to bear the burden of the kingdom and Lord Ram was not there. He left for the forest. The Bharata, name Bharata means that the boy had infinite capacity to selflessly carry the heavy burden of the responsibility on his head. The Sumitra's twins were named as Lakshman and Shatrughna. Lakshmana means it comes from the word Lakshmi. That means which means the wealth. Lakshman had never aspired for any material wealth because he is the divine personality, influence or power. And Shatrughna means who conquers his enemies. So the quadruple, which is Vasudev, Sankarshan, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha. So Vasudev appeared as Ram, Sankarshan appeared as Lakshman, Pradyumna appeared as Bharat, and that is Vasudev, Sankarshan, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha appeared as Shatrughna. We can see Lord Ram exhibited throughout his life very important maryadas, because the Punarvasu, the nakshatra means something that was lost and to establish. And that is how Lord Ram came to establish Maryada. Lord Ram came to establish the principle of truthfulness. Lord came to establish how to follow, how to live a life of instruction of the wise and superiors. Maybe the father, maybe the mother, maybe Guru. You can see the whole life of Lord Ram is following the instructions and following the Maryada of truthfulness. Lakshmana exemplified that the purpose of the one's life must be to serve the Supreme Lord in totality through the manasa, vacha, and through the mind, words, and through actions. Bharat showed the word that one should follow the Lord's command without questioning. He said that go and take my padaka and you rule the king Ayodhya. And then he actually ruled the kingdom, though he did not want it, but he wanted just to follow the instruction of Lord Ram. And Shatrughna exemplified that serving the Lord is important, but it is also important to serve his devotees, just like Shatrughna always served his brother Bharat. So Lakshman was always accompanying Ram, and Shatrughna was always accompanying Bharat. So that is how Ram, Lakshman, Bharat, and Shatrughna, that the 4 sons of Dashratha became the joy of Ayodhya. Ayodhya was in love with them. The sound of these stuttering children was music to Dashratha's ear. One day, so though Valmiki Ramayana doesn't give any pastimes of childhood pastimes, because Valmiki Rishi now is eager that he wanted to exhibit the qualities of Mother Sita, because he has seen personally Mother Sita in his hermitage. How wonderful qualities she was possessing, how kind she was, that how gentle she was, that how chastity that the pativrata that she was following. So Valmiki wanted to show this quality of Mother Sita to the people without even delaying anything. So that's why there was not much. That's what the Acharya said, that Valmiki Rishi did not spend time on the pastimes of Lord Ram. If you go to Lord Krishna's pastimes in 10th canto, there are unlimited pastimes. But here in Valmiki Ramayana, you would not. But of course, there are other Ramayanas who talks about some small pastimes. We will have those pastimes and end today. So one day, the children were playing, and suddenly they started crying incessantly in their cradles, leaving all the mothers worried. The three mothers tried their best to quieten or the comfort them, but all their efforts were in vain. Finally, after a lot of futile efforts, they decided to call Vasishta Rishi for help. Vasishta studied, he came immediately, he studied the scenario, he saw the Lord Ram was in the first cradle, Bharat was in the next, followed by Lakshman and followed by Shatrughna. So Vasishta shuffled the cradles to place Rama's cradle near Lakshmana's and Bharat's cradle near Shatrughna. Immediately the shrieks, the crying was faded, but the crying continued. Vasishta was baffled. What's happening here? Then he did some idea. He lifted Lakshmana and placed him in the same cradle as Lord Ram. Though both children felt crammed in that small cradle, but they were happy to be by each other side. And then they looked at each other with affection and smile. And similarly, Shatrughna and Bharata were placed in the same cradle, and they also felt very happy. And as soon as when Vasishta put them, the children become very happy, and within a short period of time or in the moment, they actually started laughing and smiling. So we can see that, and that became it's nothing but a sort of miracle. And every time henceforward, whenever they would cry, the mothers would actually do this miracle. They will put in the same cradle, and then they would actually become very happy. Though they were born of different mothers, but the kind of love and the children had for each other actually was novel to the human relationship. And this became mother's magic formula going forward, that every time when they had such a situation, they would actually bring and put in the same cradle. As the children grew up, we know that the spears become inseparable. Rama could not eat, he could not sleep without Lakshman. Even if his mother offered him some wonderful sweets, he would not eat until it shared with Lakshman. And whenever Ram mounted any horse or go to the hunting, Lakshmana would actually rush behind him to assist him. So that is how these pair were inseparable. And another pastime which was actually mentioned in another Ramayana, one of the children about they were about 5-year-old, and they were playing, and they found some exciting game of throwing the mud balls to each other. They began throwing the mud ball at each other for fun, and the Kaikai and Kaushalya also came there. They rushed to stop them, but the boys were carried away. We know that as small boys, when they start playing, no matter what happens, no matter what mother tells, but they get just carried away that and they bombarded their mothers with that mud balls, and the mothers were so much covered in that mud or slush as the children. And as just that time, Ram spotted the hunchback Manthara there. She was Kaikai's assistant, and so he decided to have some fun at her expense. So Ram attached the mud ball to the tip of his arrow, and when the mothers weren't looking at him, he aimed at the Manthara's hunchback, and the arrow hit exactly the mark, and the mud ball burst open, drenching Mathura completely in a slush. Ram and his brother began to laugh loudly, and all the slush drenched mothers, Kaikai, Kaushalya, and Sumitra, they had seen what had happened, but they took these incidents very lightly and laughed along. But Manthara, she had a very serious demeanor, and she did not like making the jokes, and also, of course, she had always hated Ram. After these incidents, her hatred only deepened, and she actually looked at Ram with very angry look, and the whole scene turned in a grave situation. So Kaikai went, and she realized the change in the mood. She intervened and took Manthara's side and pacified her. So Manthara harbored these memories of these incidents for 20 long years before finally taking her revenge. So we can see that, of course, it doesn't. These incidents did not get mentioned in the Valmiki Ramayana, but other Ramayana mentioned that this is how it happened. And then final pastimes of training under Vasishta, and then we'll stop there. So now Dasharatha decided to officially start their training of these children under Vasishta. So Dasharatha approached Vasishta with the 4 boys and requesting that he should take these children for training under him. So Vasishta very gladly accepted that. In fact, he was waiting for this day when they were born, because he would get opportunity and train these kids, because he know who are these four people. And Dasharatha, where Dasharatha was so fond of all his sons, and especially Lord Ram, he would never tired of looking at the boy for hours together. So Dasharatha had seen Ram throughout every stage of life, going through as a newborn, as a toddler, and as a small child. And now is a time to look forward to see that the children are getting the education. And then Vasishtha said that he requested king to leave for his palace, because Dasharatha thought that he would see Vasishtha training his children. Dasharatha complained to Vasishtha that it was normal tradition to father to watch his children learn. Then Vasishtha reminded that this rule applied to the normal children, but these children are not normal. Realizing that nothing will happen, so Dashrath Maharaj leaves the place, and Vasishtha now turned the focus on his four boys. With the folded hands, he began circumambulating them. He knows these four personalities are nothing but the divine personality and the Sakshat Lord themselves. He prayed to Lord Ram, "My dear Lord, you empower me to teach you what I know as my offer." He said that, "Oh, my dear Lord, you have blessed me with intelligence and countless capabilities. Now you want me to teach you. Please empower me to teach you what I know as offering of gratitude to you. Just as the people worship Mother Ganges by taking water from there and offering that same water to you, so similarly, what I have learned from you, and I'm offering as a matter of gratitude to you. Let me worship you, offering what you have bestowed upon me." And with that, Vasishtha began to teach the arts to these boys. The four boys began learning the basics. Very soon, Lord Ram started riding elephants, horses with the great expertise, and ride chariots very expertly. He was so good with his bows and arrow, as if it seemed that he has breathed archery. Ram was, he would get absorbed everything what he would do. And Ram and Lakshman loved to learn from everyone they came across, and they're very keenly receptive, and their thirst for knowledge was limitless. And then there's a small pastimes. During one lesson of archery, someone important distracted Vasishtha. So Vasishtha Rishi was looking away, and Ram just nudged Lakshmana, pointing out one woman walking by, and the woman was wearing a very big or huge nose ring, which became the target of Lord Ram's innocent mischief. So again, this pastime is not there in Valmiki Ramayana, but Lakshmana shot an arrow, which on reaching exactly the target of the nose ring, and that nose ring actually became very short, and that nose ring shrunk in her nostril, and she was finding very difficult to breathe. And then immediately he shot another arrow to increase the size of the nose ring, and the woman was astonished. She was astonished. She had no clue how her nose ring became smaller and again bigger. She looked around and realized that these two innocent looking boys had to do something. And when she asked Ram, she said that if they wanted to test their archery skills by making her ring small, but because the ring had become too small, she refused to believe that the human can actually do something like this. So to prove their right again, Lakshmana shot another arrow, and which he pulled the ring off her nose. And then she said, "Ring, ring, ring, where is my ring?" And again Lord Ram shoot another arrow, and immediately he brought that ring back to her nose. So this is the entire episode. The arrow never even once touched her body. And by the time Vasishtha came back, they managed to send away this woman. And then the brothers never used their skills to harm anyone. So we can understand that they were very skillful in this archery, but they never used their skill to harm anyone. Such a fun moments were very rare, almost non-existent in the life of Lord Ram and Lakshman. So now that is how the pastimes of teachings goes. Then Vasishtha would come there, and then he would take Ram to kill Tataka, Maricha, and Subahu and then after that he goes to Mithila, Janakpuri, where there is a Lord Shiva's bow is there, and Ram sees that, and then he lifts up, strings it, and breaks it, and then he gets married with Mother Sita, and then on the way back to Ayodhya, he meets Parshuram, and Parshuram wanted to again taste Lord Ram. Then he says that, okay, you have broke Shiva's bow. Can you take this? Can you just even lift this? This is Vishnu's bow. And then immediately Lord Ram lifts Vishnu's bow, swings it, and ready for shooting the arrow. And then Parshuram realizes he's none other than Vishnu. And then he leaves the place. And then finally the Bharat reaches to Ayodhya, and then that is how ends Balkand. So starting from Love Kush singing the glories of Ayodhya all the way to the marriage of Lord Ram, marriage to Sita, Lakshman marriage to Urmila, Bharat marriage to the daughters of the brother of Janak Maharaj, Mandavi, and Shatrughna marriage to Srutakriti. So like this, the two brothers, four sisters and four brothers, they get married, and finally they reach to Ayodhya. So that is the pastimes of Lord Ram, appearance and the different qualities. So what happened when we idam pavitram papagnam punyam vedescha sammitam ye patidam acharitam sarva papam pramochate. This Ramayana, when we hear the descriptions and the activities and the qualities and the pastimes of the Lord, is very pavitram, is very purifying. It destroys the sinful reactions. Papagnam. It is auspicious. Punyam. Vedescha. It is like a Veda Sammitam. It is like the Vedas. And he who studies it will be fully liberated from all the sinful reaction. And that is what the benedictions, that what we get if we hear the pastimes of Lord Ram. And today being the appearance day of Lord Ram, Ram Navami, that we are hearing the pastimes of Lord, appearance of Lord Ram, and the qualities of the Lord Ram, so that we meditate on the transcendental qualities of Lord, because the days of appearance of Lord is very, very auspicious. Why they are auspicious? Because they are personally blessed by Lord Krishna, Lord Ram. And that is why any services we do on this day, any sadhana we do, any services, sadhana, and chanting the Lord's chanting the Lord's holy name that we do on this particular day, which actually brings immense spiritual benefit for all of us, and especially meditating the transcendental qualities of Lord Ram. So on this particular auspicious day of Lord Ram, let's pray from bottom of our heart to Lord RamaChandra, who is such a wonderful, who is a beneficiary of all the living entities, that he, just like that, he came on this earthly planets, appeared to kill Ravana. Like that, we pray to Lord Ram that he would kill the Ravana within our heart, which is personified of Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, and Matsarya, that we will be free from all these anarthas and engage our life dedicated to service to Lord Ram. Just like Lakshmana dedicated his life to service to Ram, Bharat dedicated his life to service to Ram, and Shatrughna dedicated his life to service to Bharat, who dedicated his life to service to Lord Ram. So with that, let's pause, and may this Ram Navami bring all auspiciousness, all spiritual benefit to all of you, and may Lord bless all of you, shower his blessings abundantly to all of you. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Pranam Prabhuji.